Is marriage slavery? Is marriage a form of bondage or imprisonment that a person that doesn't love freedom subjects themselves to? It's a really good question. It's a great question that I was asked and exposed by one of our viewers. He points at me, exposes me, and says, Elliot, you say you love freedom so much. And I love freedom. I've come to love freedom just as much as you. But there's a contradiction in the way you're living your life, and I'm a bit confused. You say you love freedom, but yet you're married. And on top of that, you've decided to have children. I have 4 children. Why would somebody that loves freedom so much subject himself to the slavery and bondage of other people, right? Before I answer that question, the way I think today is very different than the way I thought when I got married. It's taken some time for me to evolve into this because I've thought the same way that you thought. And maybe what I'm going to share with you is just a story I'm telling myself, but it might be resourceful to you or someone else watching this, so I'm going to share it. Back in the summer of 1994, I was 14 years old, way back in high school. I was going into my sophomore year. During that summer, I fell in love with a teenage girl, same age as me, and it was good. It was very passionate. It was a love affair. During that same summer of 1994, when I fell in love with a little girl, a little teenage girl, 14 years old, just like me, I also discovered weightlifting, weight training, training with barbells, subjecting my physical body to the extrinsic force, resistance of barbells to build up my body. And I fell in love with it. I became very passionate about weightlifting. And just like the love and sexual affair that I had with a girl my age when I was in the summer of 1994, I fell in love and had a passion for weight training. Because in the same way that the sexual relationship gave me an instant gratification, the weight training gave me an instant gratification because I started getting stronger almost immediately. My muscles started growing. Not only that, but over the course of the next several decades, I grew stronger, became a better athlete, won football scholarships, and today, my life is a direct manifestation of my choice in 1994 to pick up that first barbell, because what I do today is I teach people how to get stronger with barbells. That's what I do for a living. That summer of 1994 was one of the biggest, probably the biggest turning point or trajectory in my entire life, because that same girl that I had a love and sexual affair with at the age of 14, I went on to marry and is now the mother of my 4 children. During that summer, I was very excited and passionate about 2 things that have come to shape me as a human being and is a direct tool. It's who I am today. My character is a manifestation of those 2 things that I fell in love with in that summer of 1994. Now, throughout my journey of as a weight trainer or strength trainer, the passion had died off because in the beginning, all I wanted to do was read books and magazines about bodybuilding and weightlifting. It was just, I was fully immersed in the passion of weight training. That died off. That died off maybe about a year or 2 later, as well as the results that came very fast, because anybody who knows about weight training knows that the results come real fast when you start, but then it levels out. But I stuck with it. I can't tell you exactly why I stuck with it, but I stuck with it. I kept doing it. And I think it was because of the passion and the excitement of that first few months that I knew that if I stick with this thing, I might get that feeling back again. But what I discovered while committing to the development of my body through the extrinsic resistance of weights, barbells, dumbbells, was that not only was my body growing on the outside from time to time, because that happens in phases, you don't continuously grow, was that I was also growing character values on the inside. I was growing and developing my character on the inside as a result of the extrinsic resistance of the barbells. I learned more patience. I learned commitment. I learned acceptance. I learned courage. There's a list about as long as my arm of virtues that I developed as a direct result to the extrinsic resistance of the barbells that manifests itself in me today, has led me to make choices in my life and develop me in such a way that I am who I am because of the barbells. When I started barbell training, weight training, my grades got better in school. I had more courage to go out and do things that I probably wouldn't have had the confidence to do had I not started barbell training. I had the patience and the persistence to keep going, and the results would come again because of the barbell training. I am who I am, in a great part due to the force, the pain, the subjection to resistance of the barbells. My life changed. I am who I am because of that. During that same summer, when I fell in love and had all the passion associated with falling in love with this young girl, time went on and that passion went away, just like it did with the barbell. And as that passion went away, for some reason, I couldn't tell you exactly why, I continued to stay with this girl, all through high school, college, and up until where we are today. And there have been undulations, just like there have been undulations with the weight training where things weren't going so well and I was frustrated with it, couldn't get stronger. These things happened, especially as the passion died off. But I stuck with it, and what I realized as I stuck with that extrinsic force of a person of the opposite sex, right? That training myself to be with this person, because the same way that we train with the barbells, we train in a relationship. There's no final point, just like with training. You'd ask any old weightlifter, there's no final point. 60-year-old weightlifters tell you they continue to lift because they continue to grow on the inside, even though their bodies have grown old. The same thing happens in this relationship. I started to recognize that I was growing virtues on the inside, directly associated with commitment to another human being. The type of virtues that I started to grow were patience, persistence, right? Acceptance. A lot of the same ones were reinforced that I learned from barbell training, and so many more. So, if you study the work of Aristotle, he'll tell you that virtue leads to freedom. To be truly happy, i.e. free, you've got to become virtuous. But you only become virtuous through the pressures of an extrinsic force. You only build muscle and strength through lifting the barbells. You only build internal character values and virtues through the extrinsic resistance of another human being, through the training of a relationship. And it's in the training that we grow through the barbell, and it's through the training that we grow through the extrinsic resistance of that person of the opposite sex. So a lot of people get married and they bump up against each other and nobody grows. The growth of both individuals' character ceases because they just see it as an extrinsic resistance. As the barbell laid upon you and you couldn't pick it up, you basically give it up. Well, the same thing's gonna happen. That person lays on you. Not necessarily sexually, that too, but they lay on you. And you've got to find a way to strengthen your virtues to be able to pick them back up. Because there's going to be a time when you're going to lay on them. And they're going to develop the virtues to pick you back up. And this happens throughout the relationship. And you continue to grow to where you're 80 years old, like that old bodybuilder. And you say to yourself that I stuck with this thing through all these decades, not because I was in love like I was in the summer of 1994. Not because of passion of any great degree, but because of the personal development associated with committing yourself to the training of a relationship. So my friend, I hope that's helpful. I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't confuse you with that analogy. But the point here is that subjecting yourself to weight training is a crazy thing that not everybody wants to do. Because it's weird. Why would you put your body under that type of pressure just to get these so-called virtues that may not even be important to other people? It's the same type of commitment and craziness You gotta be a little crazy to get married. That you subject yourself to the growth of your character through the subjugation, subjecting yourself to the pressures of dealing with that other person. And as you both yield to one another and both assert yourselves on one another, you grow, you train, you grow. Not everybody needs to get married. I'm not pro-marriage or anti-marriage. But the perspective that marriage is not a love affair, but a training, may shed some light on a new perspective for how you go about that relationship. You grow, she grows. You grow stronger through your commitment to another person.